Cowboys and the rest of our rivals' big hope to beat us this year is the fact that we lost 6 starters. Well, I hate to break it to them, but the Eagles just replaced about everybody. Dallas still stinks. Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. So yes, it's true, the Eagles lost 6 starters this past offseason. But what was remarkable was what Howie Vision, the little guy, did this offseason, replacing each and every one of these guys. And I would say this, the Eagles are better built now than they were a year ago because they're built for the long term. And we're going to get into it in a second. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And if you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you so much for all the support you give to me. It truly means a lot. And just, if you guys haven't, make sure you're still subscribed and everything is okay, because I'm getting about 1 to 2 DMs a day saying, I don't know why I keep getting unsubscribed to you. Did I do something wrong? And I'm like, it's not me. I am not doing it. It's YouTube. So just double check. It happens every so often. Now, in this video, there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Eagles and the 6 starters and the offseason they had, and show you guys that the Eagles are in fact built better than they were a year ago. And they're going to be more dangerous than they were a year ago. Also, I want to talk about this whole thing where the NFL is privately blaming the Eagles and the Chiefs, for that matter, and the players for the field conditions and not themselves. This is totally ridiculous. Now, I am not one. I don't want to come on here and say, well, we would have won if we did this, if we did that, if we did this. I keep it simple. If the Eagles would have gotten one more possession with enough time on the clock, a minute, 30-something seconds, I think they go down and they win the game. I do. But you can't deny that the field was horrible. The conditions of the field were absolutely horrible. And the league is actually blaming the players for this. Oh, well, they should have changed their cleats and stuff like that. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he posted on Twitter, I went through 3-4 different cleats before the game even started. The field was that bad, and it did hurt the Eagles. And predominantly why it hurt the Eagles is because it slowed down that pass rush. The big strength for the Eagles going into that game, more so than the Chiefs, was that pass rush. The Eagles had, 70 sacks last year, and you needed to get to the quarterback. And there were times where you saw Hassan Reddick turn in the corner, or Brandon Graham turn in the corner, and it looked like they're going to get them home, and then they just slip. There was no doubt the field was horrible conditioned. And for the league to actually say that they signed off on that field before the Super Bowl is absolutely ridiculous. You know, there's a lot of conspiracies with the turf guy and him being a former Chiefs fan or whatever, or a Chief fan for that matter. The field was in bad condition. And for the league to blame the NFL players is absolutely disgusting. It's disgusting. But the league, that's what they do. They do a lot of things. I mean, you're suspending players for gambling on this, on that. When you know the owners do it, you know that the league totally welcomes it. The league has been making money off the lines, off gambling for years. They just don't hide it anymore. So I think it's horrible that the league said it was the players' fault. I think the field was in horrible condition. And yes, both teams played on it, absolutely. But the disadvantage fell more to the Eagles because of the pass rush and how it slowed that pass rush up. So it hurt us. But I'm not going to sit there and make excuses. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I think it's wrong for the NFL to actually go out there and blame the players. I do. Okay? So I just had to say that. Now, once again, I woke up this morning and what do I see? This. You see my name in this, right? My name is in this video. Should I respond or should I ignore it? That's the question. Well, we'll just ignore it because it's not a big deal. Hell with that. We ain't ignoring nothing. We ain't ignoring nothing. It's what, July 3rd? We better do this now before Mark goes off his keto tomorrow for 4th of July. It's time. Let's rumble. You want the war, Mark Holmes? I'll give you the war. I'm coming for the meats. This video had to be the most ridiculous, delusional Cowboys video I have ever seen in my life. Okay? The whole video was about Philly 500 talking about Nakobe Dean, and he thinks Nakobe Dean's going to have a good year. He thinks Jordan Davis is going to have a good year. Of course, that I think. I'm telling people what I think. I don't know for sure, obviously. But see, I'm not afraid to talk about question marks on the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not afraid to talk about, we have questions at linebacker. We have questions at safety. We lost some guys. Yeah, I have no problem talking about those kind of things. Mark, he can't. He tells you, oh, the Cowboys have done this. The Cowboys are going to do this. The Cowboys are going to do that. And then they don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. The biggest, I think, is Mark Holmes, okay? How many videos has he done about Mozzie Smith? I think Mozzie Smith is going to be solving all our problems. Our defense is great now because we got Mozzie Smith. He don't know. Mozzie Smith hasn't played one snap yet. But the biggest, I think, that he does, that to me is the most delusional thing in the world, is Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl. You think Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl. What proof do you have? Where has he showed you he can do it? When has he took his team and put them on his back and carried them in the playoffs? Jalen Hurts, for a fact, has accomplished more than Dak Prescott. That's just a fact. So to even say that because I'm saying I think Nakobe Dean can win or be a good player, and I think Jordan Davis is going to have a big year this year, that somehow I'm delusional or we don't have confidence in our team, but they do. When the biggest, I think, every day of the week of the year for him the last 6-7 years is I think Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl. He can't. He has shown that he can't. Now you want to say I think Mozzie Smith is going to be that guy. I think Stephon Gilmore is not gonna need a cane to go out there and play. It's the same thing. Nobody really knows nothing until the season starts, okay? But the thing is I could talk about individual positional needs and possibilities, but the Eagles still have the best offensive football. They've replaced what? They've lost 2 starters on offense, and they've been replaced. And that's the thing about the Eagles. The Eagles have gone out this offseason and I think have done a remarkable job at replacing 6 starters that they lost. If you look at it from the offensive standpoint, okay, you lost the right guard. And Mark keeps bringing up our right guard, questions our right guard, but he ignores questions about their left guard, okay? And we have Stoutland, the best offensive line coach in football. And you also have Cam Jurgens, a 2nd-round pick who's going to play that right guard position. Right next to him between Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. I think we're going to be okay at right guard. Pretty confident about that. When you look at the running back situation, you lost Miles Sanders. Yes, you definitely did. But what you brought in Penny and DeAndre Swift actually gives you an added dimension on offense. I believe DeAndre, and I would have said this at the beginning of last year too, I believe DeAndre Swift is more talented than Miles Sanders. I think he has a higher ceiling. He's just got to stay healthy. Now you want to say, well, he's got to stay healthy. Now you're talking about his health. Well, we could say the same thing about all your Cowboy players, especially your offensive line. We could talk about players that you guys have that can't stay healthy. Brandon Cooks, can he stay healthy? It's the same thing. But when you look at Swift and you look at Penny, they give you the element of a passing game out of the backfield, and they can get you short yardage. Rashad Penny can be a short yardage back for you if needed. So when you look at the right guard spot and you look at the running back spot, the Eagles are actually, to me, they're fine. If you want to say, well, we'll have to wait and see what Cam Jurgens does, I'm pretty confident that right guard spot is going to be really good, giving you, once again, the best offensive line in football. Okay, running back, I think they're actually deeper than they were a year ago. Oh, you're saying I think. You think. Well, they have to get out there and play first. Then you look at the defensive line. You lost Javon Hargrave. That's 11 sacks. Yeah, that's a lot of sacks. And Jalen Carter was just about the best replacement you could possibly get for losing Javon Hargrave. You got arguably the best player in the draft, the most talented player in the draft, at the defensive tackle position to go along with, oh, by the way, another first-round defensive tackle and then another backup rotating defensive tackle who's an older veteran, because I believe Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter will be starting. You see, Jalen Carter is going to be a stud. If you listen to Mark and talk about Mozzie Smith, you would think he's talking about Jalen Carter. But he doesn't address Jalen Carter. He attacks Jordan Davis because Jordan Davis was hurt last year and he wasn't conditioned. But Jordan Davis has shown already that he's in really good shape. That was half the battle for him. So when you look at the defensive tackle spot, Jalen Carter replacing Hargrave is just about as good as you could get. Now, it may take him a few years to be able to get 11 sacks. We will see. However, Jalen Carter was a great replacement and long-term for the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look at the linebacking position, Nakobe Dean and Nicholas Morrow are coming in, right? Here's a guy, Nakobe Dean, that was supposed to be a first-round pick. He drops to the third round. He's going to replace T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White. Kaiser White and T.J. Edwards aren't Ray Lewis. It's not Ray Lewis or Seth Joyner. They're not replacing those kind of guys. They're replacing quality starters last year, decent starters. I don't think the drop-off between T.J. Edwards and Nakobe Dean is that big of a deal. I really don't. And I don't think the same thing with Kaiser White and Nicholas Morrow. Nicholas Morrow on the Bears have gotten better each year. Kaiser White faded. Okay, he was really good early in the year, and he kind of faded at the end of the year. So the Eagles have done a really good job replacing their linebackers. And there are still questions at the linebacking position because they're young. That's just the reality of the situation. I'm not going to come on here and say that there isn't question marks on a team when there is. Every team has question marks. We just choose on this channel to actually talk about it and not ignore it. Okay? Then you look at the safety position. Safety position, you lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I really like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I wanted to keep him. I thought he really was a great addition for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Now, you go out and you get Edmonds, you got Reed Blankenship, and you draft Sidney Brown. There's a legitimate question about whether or not those safeties will replace him. However, when he did miss 5 games, and I think this goes a long way, when he did miss 5 games last year, the Eagles, they kept humming along. They kept playing good. And I think they look at it and they think that they can replace him. Now, the great thing about the Eagles is you have Howie Roseman. If you need to dress a safety spot or a linebacker, to think that the Eagles are done, and this is why I keep talking about possible players, because we have Howie Roseman, and the history of Howie Roseman tells us he is not done yet. So we still could even add players, okay? But when you look at what the Eagles did as a whole this offseason, after losing 6 starters, I think they've checked. I think you can check off every position and say even to upgrade. Even to upgrade. The only position I think that you can arguably say you have to see is the safety position. Okay? That's the truth. So the Eagles are actually built, I think, better this year than they were a year ago, and they're built for the long term. Now, their offense is pretty much the same thing. They're going to go out there and they are going to score a lot of points. Great receivers, great offensive line, great quarterback, great defensive line. And yeah, here's the other thing with the defensive line, because people act like, well, you lost Hargrave and Carter's a rookie, so, you're not going to go out there and be able to get to the quarterback this year. The Eagles still have 3 players on that defensive line that went out and had double-digit sacks. Brandon Graham, double-digit sacks. Josh Sweat, double-digit sacks. Hassan Reddick, double-digit sacks. There's no reason to think that those guys aren't going to go out there and get double-digit sacks again. That's at minimum 30 sacks right there. So, to me, the hope that the Eagles lost 6 starters and they can't be filled and it can't be replaced and they're in trouble is just not true. And it is not true. Now, there will be an adjustment period, but we're not afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid to talk about our weaknesses. I'm not afraid to talk about where I think we need to get better. I'm not going to blow smoke up people's ass and tell them that every position we got the greatest player ever to get, and that will be fine. Mark just goes as the wind goes. If Dallas loses a lot of players, oh, well, I think we can replace them. Oh, but Philly 500 staying, I think this, I think that. Oh, but Philly 500, he thinks that Nakobe Dean is going to be a good linebacker. Well, you think Dak Prescott is a Super Bowl quarterback, and he hasn't done anything yet. The Eagles have replaced their players. They have replaced the holes that they lost. It may take the defense a little bit to adjust. I think the defense, I think the way this season's going to go is the offense is going to carry the defense early. I think the defense, when guys like Jalen Carter and they start getting their snaps and start getting into the season, I think the defense gets better and better, especially at the end of the year. Not to say the defense is going to have trouble early, but I think if the offense is your bread and butter, I think that is what is going to carry us, especially early. I think the defense comes on later in the year when these rookies, kind of get into it, and Nakobe Dean and these guys start playing games, and, they stack game upon game together. They'll get better as the year goes on. This team is still the best team in the NFC, and I don't even think it's close. The 6 starters that they lost, Howie Roseman has done a remarkable job in replacing them, and I think the Eagles are better built now than they were ever before. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. My guess is next week is the Kelly Green reveal. I'm guessing, and I know there's been some talk about this, but expect next week to be it. I'm thinking maybe the end of the week after the 4th of July, we're going to get our Kelly Green announcement. One can only hope. One can only pray. I'm ready for it right now. Denzel Washington out.